Welcome to HeadLocke, the official podcast of the John Locke Foundation. I'm Mitch Kokai. Thousands of North Carolina families are able to send their children to the schools of their choice thanks to the state's Opportunity Scholarship Program. And now 3 of those families are going to court to help save the program. Joining us to explain their case is Tim Keller, senior attorney with the Institute for Justice, and Janet Nunn, who uses the Opportunity Scholarship Program for her granddaughter. Also joining us with some expert insight and commentary is Dr. Terry Stoops. He is the John Locke Foundation's Vice President for Research and Director of Education Studies. And Tim, I want to talk to you first of all about the involvement of the Institute for Justice. Didn't you all work on this case 5 years ago and determine that these opportunity scholarships were kosher and fit in with the North Carolina Constitution?
No, you're absolutely right, Mitch. 5 years ago, when the state legislature originally enacted the Opportunity Scholarship Program, it was challenged in 2 separate lawsuits. And at that time, the Institute for Justice, representing several families, intervened in that case to defend the program and ensure that it would be upheld as constitutional. That legal battle took a little while, but ultimately in 2015, we got up to the North Carolina Supreme Court, and in a 4-3 decision, the North Carolina Supreme Court declared that the program was constitutional, that it served a valid public purpose in providing the means of education for thousands of North Carolina families, and that it can go forward. And at that point, the program was able to get up and running. And in its first year, I believe it served about 1,200 students. And since that time, it has grown each year and now serves over 12,000 students in North Carolina.
So why are we back in court?
Yeah, we are back in court because the North Carolina Education Association viciously opposes this program, and so they are back at it once again. The lawsuit that was filed about 3 weeks ago really simply rehashes all of the same claims that were brought before. Of course, the first legal challenge, what was known as a facial legal challenge. It was a pre-enforcement challenge. It was filed before the program was up and running. The program now has been running for a little over 5 years, and they have styled this new lawsuit as an as-applied challenge. They say that now that we know how the program works, how it operates, how families choose schools for their kids, that now somehow the program is unconstitutional and should be struck down. But that's outrageous because the program operates exactly as everybody anticipated it would. Families freely and voluntarily apply for the scholarship program, and they independently research the schools that their children might be well served by, and they enroll in those schools, and the schools serve those children very well, as IJ's clients will be happy to attest to.
Now, this is not your argument because you are defending the Opportunity Scholarships, but what is it about the way that they operate that the critics are saying makes them now unconstitutional in a way they weren't when it was a challenge to the very idea of Opportunity Scholarships?
Yeah, so again, the lawsuit really brings the same claims, but here's what they're arguing this time around. Number one, they're arguing that the program subjects North Carolina citizens to religious discrimination because families can choose to enroll in religious schools that may have admissions criteria that apply some sort of religious test. Of course, that's ridiculous because every North Carolina family is eligible to apply for the OSP. The state officials, when they're granting the OSP scholarships, do not take religion into account, and it's up to the parents to decide where they want to send their kids. So nobody is subject to religious discrimination as a result of this program. Again, it's all voluntary, free association. Number two, they argue that the program does not serve a public purpose because families can use their scholarships to attend private schools. But that claim is the exact same claim that was rejected by the North Carolina Supreme Court. And it's interesting to me that the plaintiffs in this case cite several provisions of the North Carolina Constitution, but they ignore 2 really important provisions. One provision, and those provisions that they ignore exist in the North Carolina education article, which says that religion and morality and the means of education are to be forever encouraged. And that while the state is obligated to enact a public school system, students in North Carolina are free to be educated by other means, and the state legislature is free to provide those means to those families. And the plaintiffs in this case completely ignore those provisions. So here, of course, the Opportunity Scholarship Program serves a valid public purpose, just like it did 5 years ago. And the last claim that they bring is that they say that the program is not accountable to provide a quality education to students. But of course, that is perhaps the most ridiculous of all of their claims, because the Opportunity Scholarship Program holds schools accountable to the individuals who they should be most accountable to, namely the parents and the students who choose those schools.
Now, to move forward with a case, the Institute for Justice isn't just stepping in as this law firm that likes opportunity scholarships. You're working with parents, and in the case of the person we're going to be speaking with in just a moment, grandparents who benefit from this program. Tell us about how you got some parents and grandparents involved in wanting to defend this program from the new suit.
Yeah, so the Institute for Justice has been representing families in defense of school choice programs for nearly 30 years. In fact, there hasn't been a single day since we opened our doors that we haven't been in court somewhere in this country defending a school choice program from legal attack. And the way we do that is by asking the courts to allow parents to intervene in the case as defendants to defend a program alongside the state officials who have been sued. The way that this lawsuit stands right now is that citizens and taxpayers have filed a lawsuit against the state, but that means there's an important voice, the most important voice, missing from the litigation. And that's the voice of the true beneficiaries of the program, the individuals that the program was designed to serve and benefit. That's the families who have applied for the program. And so as soon as this lawsuit was filed, we reached out to our friends in North Carolina. That included our friends at the John Locke Foundation and at Parents for Educational Freedom in North Carolina, and said, can you introduce us to families who are currently relying on the program and who could not afford to send their children to these private schools without the Opportunity Scholarship? Their voice desperately needs to be heard by the courts. And so once we had an opportunity to meet some of those families, we have gone to court on their behalf. We filed a motion to intervene on Wednesday of this week, and we have asked the courts to allow them to appear alongside the state in defense of the Opportunity Scholarship Program.
And I understand that there are 3 different families involved. Let's go ahead and now bring in one of them. That is your plaintiff named Janet Nunn, who, from what I understand, uses the Opportunity Scholarship Program for your granddaughter. Janet, tell us how you got involved with this program.
I got involved in this program when my granddaughter was in the 1st grade, and I realized that she was struggling. She was in public school, and she was struggling. She was in the 1st grade. She was reading below kindergarten level. I was frustrated. I was paying a tutor to tutor her. However, I couldn't afford to send her to private school. And speaking with a coworker, she directed me to one school, and the school introduced me to the Opportunity Scholarship. And I spoke with Parents for Educational Freedom, Quan Graham, and she walked me through the application process. She provided me with the list of all of these schools here in Charlotte that accepted the scholarship. It was in this, I had to provide my financial information. I had to provide Naraya's information. Naraya is my granddaughter, her information. And then based on those criteria, and her 3rd criteria was she was coming from public school going into private school, at which time I was approved for the scholarship. I had Naraya repeat the 1st grade because she wasn't ready to move forward to the 2nd grade. So when Naraya went into the private school sector, she repeated the 1st grade. And upon repeating the 1st grade, she was able to get those fundamentals that she needed to help her excel and move on forward. And now, as a result of the Opportunity Scholarship Program, Naraya is a rising sixth grader. She is average. She's a B average student. She is confident in herself. She believes in herself. Her reading skills has gotten it's amazing. The transformation, and seeing that transformation, not only in her education and where she's at, but in her character, in herself, in her confidence in herself. And without the OSP, I wouldn't have been able to provide that for her. And so, yes, I'm here with IJ, and I'm advocating because it's an important factor for me to be able to provide her the education she needs.
I could tell that this is personally affecting to you, that you can't tell this story without getting emotional. Do you think Naraya would be in the situation she is now if she had no Opportunity Scholarship?
No, I don't. Naraya was a child that began school, and she was sit all the way in the back, and I witnessed it because I was always I'm a very up close. I volunteer. I'm at school. I'm speaking with the teachers, and I'm making sure that I'm doing my part at home. And I realized that in kindergarten, she was sitting in the back. Her head would be down. She wasn't raising her hand. She was very quiet. And then I got her to tutor in kindergarten because Naraya has some difficulties at birth, which required her to have tubes put in her ears. And it wasn't until later on that it was realized that those developmental early stages of her development, those sounds, she didn't have that. She missed that. What the doctor said, it was as if she had earmuffs on her ears and was submerged underwater. So we had to go all the way back to teach her the A, E, I, O, U, and all of those sounds. So we did that in kindergarten, and she moved to the first grade. And so now she's in the first grade, but it's even worse now because now she's being assessed and she's reading below kindergarten level. So now she's being pulled out for resources. But while she's being pulled out for resources, the teachers are not stopping educating the other students. They're moving forward. Meanwhile, she's being pulled out for the resources for reading, but she's falling behind in all of her other subjects, which caused her to become more of an introvert yet again. So like I said, I started the tutoring again. And when I had wrote a letter and requested a meeting because I wanted her to be tested to find out where her strengths and weaknesses were. But because she was being pulled out for those resources, it was told to me that if she was to take the test at that time, she would pass the test. Well, me as her legal guardian, making the decisions regarding her education, I didn't want her to go to the second grade because I knew she wasn't ready. And I didn't want her to fall any further behind. Well, the school then became concerned about it being a behavior issue because all of her friends in the first grade will move to the second grade, and then she will be in the first grade with all of the kindergartners. And there might be some behavioral issues. And it was at that time that I decided that I needed to move her. And again, without the scholarship, I don't think she would have flourished as well as she has and continue to do.
So given your family's personal experience with the Opportunity Scholarship Program, what did you think when you heard that there was this lawsuit that's trying to get rid of them?
Well, I've been here with them 5 years ago, and like I felt 5 years ago as I do today, it's ridiculous. I mean, we live in a country that we say is free. Like we supposed to be in a pursuit of the happiness and the freedom, and that pursuit is with education as well. So if I don't see what's unconstitutional. I don't see what's oh no.
Oh, you're back. You're back.
I don't see what's unconstitutional because I'm low income. Is that what makes it unconstitutional? I want to give my child an opportunity, and that's exactly what the scholarship is. It's an opportunity for advancement in your life, and she has a right to that. I don't see why that would be unconstitutional. We all have a right to pursue our happiness. And if happiness is education, then we deserve that. We have a right to that. And I don't understand why everybody is so angry or upset or unconstitutional because a child with limited that's come, and it's not her fault that she comes from limited means. It's really not. However, it's not her fault that she can't be provided a good education that's structured to her needs.
Well, Janet,
I don't understand it.
Well, Janet, we know that we can just tell from seeing your face that you're doing all you can to ensure that she gets that education that's best for her. I want to bring in now for a moment my colleague, Terry Stoops. Terry, you are the education guru at the John Locke Foundation. You've been watching opportunity scholarships for years. What is this lawsuit and the parental intervention now from people who are benefiting from the opportunity scholarships? What does this say to you about where this program stands?
Well, as opposed to when we went through this process the last time, now we have thousands of parents that are being able to attest to the power of the Opportunity Scholarship Program. And that's really one of the key benefits here, is that we now have stories like the ones we just heard that thousands of parents across the state can tell about what this program means to them. But what we also have on the research side, and you know, for a lot of people, research isn't as compelling as the stories are. We have a series of studies from North Carolina State University, and included in those studies is 2 peer-reviewed studies of the Opportunity Scholarship Program that tells us exactly what we expected, that students perform as well, if not better, than their counterparts in public schools. The parents are extremely happy, that the operators of schools are not only happy with the program, but they're using it in ways that benefit their existing schools. It's not just about having additional funds flowing to their schools, but these students add value to the private schools that they're attending. So we have extreme satisfaction from the parents, from the schools, and this is really what the NC State studies have highlighted for us, is that everyone is happy with the program, except for a group of union thugs that basically want to try to use the current makeup of the North Carolina Supreme Court to their advantage to get rid of a program that they dislike. It's not about the students, it's not about the parents, it's not about the schools. For this group, the North Carolina Association of Educators, it's about eliminating a program that they dislike because they perceive it as taking money that they think public schools deserve. And if anything has taught me about education policy, it's that it's not a matter of schools deserving money, it's students deserving money. And when parents are empowered to direct where that money goes, not only do they benefit those students, their children, but they benefit the schools that are now held accountable for ensuring that they are competing with schools for scarce public resources, and they can then improve their programs to ensure that parents who now have a choice will determine to choose the school that best meets the needs of their children. So looking at what's happened over the 5 years of the operation of the program, with over 12,000 students involved, I couldn't be happier to hear the stories of parents coming out in support of the program. And in a just world, in a fair world, the courts would just hear these stories and determine that this program has value and should continue. But unfortunately, we know that we don't live in that type of world. And we know that the North Carolina Association of Educators is playing by a different set of rules than the families that are enjoying the benefits of this program.
Well, we're happy to help share the stories of empowered parents, or in this case, a grandparent, Janet, who has been looking out for her granddaughter. Now, given where the case stands right now, let's turn back to Tim. Tim, you have filed a motion to have Janet and a couple of other families who have benefited from the Opportunity Scholarship play a role in this case. Tell us what happens next.
So the next thing that'll happen is we find out if the plaintiffs in this case plan to oppose the parents' intervention, if they're going to try and shut them out and keep them out of the lawsuit. If they go that route, we'll have to fight in front of a judge to get the families into court. We intend to prevail in that fight if they do oppose their intervention. And then once we're in the case, we're going to try our best to move it along as quickly as possible to remove the constitutional cloud from this program. There's enough uncertainty in life right now. Parents deserve to know that this program will be there to serve them now and into the future. But of course, in order to ultimately get that constitutional cloud removed, we're going to have to put school choice on trial. We're going to have to marshal the facts that Terry was just talking about how this program serves students so well, both academically, emotionally, and how much the parents who are participating in the program are benefiting from it, and how that the program ultimately benefits the entire educational system in North Carolina. We're going to have to do that. And so I would anticipate this case ultimately will require some what's called discovery. We're going to have to put together those facts. We're going to have to put them in front of the court, either in written papers or perhaps even a trial. And then once that's completed, the next step will be the North Carolina appellate courts. So even though we want to bring this case to a head and to a conclusion as rapidly as possible, I think we're going to be in court for just a little while as we demonstrate to the courts how valuable this program is to the citizens of North Carolina.
Well, before we wrap things up, I want to give the final word on this to a person who is directly affected, because we are all interested in this, but only one of us in this conversation is actually directly impacted by this and seeing benefits for a family member. Janet Nunn, tell us and tell the people who are watching and listening to us just how important is the Opportunity Scholarship to you, and why should it be protected against this lawsuit?
The program is important to me because, again, it provides me the opportunity to provide Naraya with the education she needs. And when I say the education she needs, she's in a smaller classroom. She is one-on-one with her teacher, even during these unprecedented times and the learning from home. If she had problems, even myself with this new age math, had problems, could get on the Zoom with her math teacher, walk through it, explain it to me, that I would be able to help her. Her going from a child that didn't want to go to school, that now she's eager to go to school, and she reads, and she wasn't reading before, and she reads, and it's so much better than what it was. She's come a long way. She has a little bit of way to go, but she's come a long way. And without this assistance, I would not have been able to provide that for her. I would not have been able to boost her confidence in areas that she needed boosting. And this is what the Opportunity Scholarship has done for me and my family. It has provided me the means, the financial means, to send her to a school that is capable, and she enjoys the learning. It's engaging. She's not sitting in the back of a classroom. She's not holding her head down. She's not saying that she's not as smart as her classmates. She's sitting there. She's raising her hand. She's asking questions. She's moving forward. She wants to be in the front, to be that leader. And I couldn't have done it by myself. And I do get emotional. I get real emotional because when you see where she was to where she's at now, I am forever grateful. forever grateful. And without this program, I don't know where she would be, because as I explained once before, without this program, I would have no choice but to send her back to public school. But what public school would I send her to? Do we start this process all over? Does she sit back in the back of the classroom? Does she revert back into that introvert? Does she revert back into that child that did not want to go to school? Does she become a behavioral problem because she's not able to keep up with the other students and what's going on? Like, not everybody learns at the same pace. Not everybody learns the same way. And this was my chance to find what she needed to suit her and her needs. Without that, we right back at square one. We're right back at square one, and I'm pounding the pavement, advocating, knocking on doors, probably back to sitting in the classroom with her to help assist her, with the work that she needed to do, because that's what I was doing in kindergarten and first grade. I would literally go and sit with her in class to help her because she didn't have the assistance that she needed. Here now, she's doing things independently. And without this program, I wouldn't be able to provide that opportunity for her.
Well, Janet, we know that this is a topic that you get emotional speaking about. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about it. We also appreciate, and Janet Nunn is a grandparent who uses the Opportunity Scholarship Program here in North Carolina. Tim Keller is a senior attorney with the Institute for Justice, working with Janet and a couple of other families that are trying to intervene in this lawsuit challenging the Opportunity Scholarships. You also heard from Dr. Terry Stoops. He is the Vice President for Research and Director of Education Studies at the John Locke Foundation. Thanks so much to all of you, and we, of course, will be watching this very closely as this motion moves forward and as the case moves forward, and we appreciate you all being with us today.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
And we hope that you will join us again soon for another edition of HeadLocke.